The transmission crackled across every communication device on Earth simultaneously. Television screens, radio waves, internet feeds, even emergency broadcast systems, all hijacked by the same horrifying signal. Admiral Marcus Chen stood frozen in the UN Emergency Command Center as the massive holographic display flickered to life, showing the cold reptilian features of Supreme Commander Vexthal of the Galactic Dominion. "Greetings, primitive species of the third planet," the alien's voice echoed with mechanical translation. Behind him, the bridge of a massive warship stretched into darkness, illuminated by pulsing crimson lights. "You call yourselves humans. We have observed your violent nature, your wars, your destruction of your own habitat. The Galactic Dominion has deemed your species a threat to cosmic order." Chen's hands trembled as he watched the feed. Around him, military personnel and world leaders sat in stunned silence. The alien's yellow eyes seemed to bore through the screen directly at them. "To demonstrate the futility of resistance," Vexthal continued, "we shall provide an educational display." The camera shifted, revealing a massive viewing port. Through it, Earth hung like a blue marble against the starfield, beautiful and vulnerable. "Behold your colony ship New Horizon, 99 million of your kind aboard, fleeing to establish settlements beyond your dying world." The view changed to show a colossal vessel, 20 kilometers long, its hull gleaming with the hopes of humanity's future. Families, children, scientists, artists, the best of humanity seeking new worlds. President Sarah Williams gripped her chair's armrests until her knuckles turned white. "Get me a line to that ship immediately," she commanded her aide. But even as the words left her lips, she knew it was too late. Vexthal raised one clawed hand. "Your species must learn submission. Witness the price of defiance." The Dominion fleet materialized around the New Horizon like wolves surrounding a sheep, massive dreadnoughts, their weapons charging with ominous blue light. The colony ship's distress signals screamed across space, but Earth was light years away, helpless to intervene. Captain Rodriguez of the New Horizon appeared on a smaller screen within the transmission. His face was calm despite the terror in his eyes. Earth Control were surrounded. Unknown alien vessels. "They're not responding to our hails. We have families here, children." His voice cut to static. "No," Chen whispered, understanding what was about to unfold. The first energy blast tore through the New Horizon's hull like paper. Atmosphere vented into space as secondary explosions rippled along the ship's length. But the aliens weren't finished. They fired again and again, each shot carefully calculated to maximize suffering rather than ensure a quick death. Hull breaches spread like cancer as the ship broke apart in agonizing slow motion. In the UN Command Center, grown men and women wept openly. Some vomited, others simply stared in catatonic shock. On screens around the world, 9 billion humans watched their species' brightest hope die in the cold vacuum of space. 99 million voices. Chen counted silently. Silenced forever. The final pieces of the New Horizon dispersed into glittering debris. Vexthal's face returned to the screen, showing no emotion whatsoever. "This is the fate that awaits all who oppose the Dominion. Your world will submit or follow the same path. You have 72 of your Earth hours to surrender unconditionally. Resistance is futile. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are toys." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Earth in deafening silence. President Williams was the first to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. "How many people just watched their loved ones die?" "Preliminary estimates suggest 15 million people had family or friends aboard the New Horizon," reported Director Hayes from Intelligence. "The psychological impact across the population will be devastating." But Chen wasn't thinking about psychological impact. He was thinking about rage. Pure crystalline rage that burned away fear and replaced it with something far more dangerous. Determination. Around the room, he could see the same transformation occurring in others. The initial shock was giving way to something the aliens clearly hadn't expected. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Torres approached cautiously, "we're receiving reports from military installations worldwide. Personnel are requesting immediate assignment to combat operations." "Combat operations?" Williams looked confused. "Against what?" "They have technology centuries beyond ours. Our most advanced fighters would be like throwing rocks at a tank." Chen stood slowly, his mind already racing through possibilities the aliens couldn't have anticipated. "Madam President, with respect, They made one critical error in their assessment of our species, which is, they assumed we would react with fear and submission. They don't understand human nature. Chen turned to face the room. Throughout our history, whenever humanity has faced extinction, we've done something remarkable. We've gotten angry, and when humans get truly angry, we become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Admiral, General Reeves interjected. Their technology is clearly superior. Their ships, their weapon, their arrogance, Chen interrupted. They broadcast their location. They showed us their ships. They gave us 72 hours. They're treating this as a foregone conclusion. He walked to the tactical display. But they don't know about Project Blackout. They don't know about the Phoenix Protocol. They don't know what we've been preparing for. The room fell silent again, but this time it wasn't shock. It was anticipation. Director Hayes, Chen continued, I need you to contact every black site, every classified research facility, every military contractor with access to experimental technology. Full disclosure, full cooperation. No more compartmentalization. Admiral, those projects are highly classified. 99 million people are dead. Chen's voice cut like ice. Classification protocols no longer apply. This is survival. He turned back to President Williams. Madam President, I'm requesting authorization to implement Operation Alien. Williams stared at him. That operation doesn't exist. It does now. 72 hours to turn Earth into a fortress and show these aliens what happens when you mistake human compassion for weakness. Chen's eyes blazed with determination. They wanted to see our violent nature. They're about to get a front row seat to humanity's greatest talent, total war. Outside the command center, across Earth's surface, humanity began to mobilize. Not in fear, but in fury. The Galactic Dominion had awakened something ancient and terrible. They had murdered children in cold blood, broadcast the slaughter like entertainment, and demanded submission. They were about to learn that humans don't submit. They fight back. The Nevada test site buzzed with activity that hadn't been seen since the height of the Cold War. Dr. Elena Vasquez sprinted through the underground corridors of Area 51, her security badge bouncing against her chest as she rushed toward the classified hangar bay. Behind her, a team of the world's brightest minds struggled to keep pace. 17 hours since the transmission, she called over her shoulder to Dr. Kim Nakamura, her quantum physics partner. 55 hours remaining until their deadline. Elena, are you certain about this? Nakamura gasped, his lungs burning from the sprint. The calculations alone should take weeks to verify. We don't have weeks, Vasquez replied, sliding her badge through a scanner. The massive blast doors groaned open, revealing a sight that made the assembled scientists stop in their tracks. The hangar stretched for nearly a kilometer underground, filled with technology that officially didn't exist. Sleek aircraft with impossible angles, their surfaces seeming to bend light around them. Weapons that hummed with contained energy. And at the center of it all, a massive cylindrical device that pulsed with blue-white light. Admiral Chen emerged from behind the cylinder, his uniform replaced with a technician's jumpsuit. Dr. Vasquez, thank God you're here. How quickly can we weaponize the quantum entanglement drive? Vasquez stared at the device, her mind racing through the implications. This is what you've been hiding? A functional quantum tunnel generator? Among other things, Chen gestured to the assembled technology. Project Blackout has been reverse engineering crashed alien technology for 70 years. We've been preparing for this day since Roswell. Dr. Sarah Kim, a weapons specialist, ran her hands along one of the strange aircraft. These designs, they're not human. No, they're not, Chen confirmed. But our engineering is. We've taken their technology and improved it, made it deadlier, more efficient, more human. Nakamura approached the quantum device cautiously. Admiral, if this is what I think it is, we're talking about instantaneous travel across vast distances. The energy requirements alone are met by this, Vasquez said quietly, pointing to a smaller device connected to the main generator. Her face had gone pale with understanding. That's an antimatter containment unit. You've been mass-producing antimatter. For 60 years, Chen nodded grimly. Every nuclear power plant on Earth has been secretly contributing to this project. We have enough stored antimatter to power a small sun. The implications hit the scientists like a physical blow. Dr. Kim whispered, You've been planning for war with an alien species since 1947? Not planning, Chen corrected. Preparing. There's a difference. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's current defensive grid. 47 hidden military installations across the planet. Orbital platforms disguised as communication satellites. Weapons platforms in the asteroid belt masquerading as mining operations. My God, Nakamura breathed. You've militarized the entire solar system. And they have no idea. Chen smiled grimly. Their scan showed them exactly what we wanted them to see. A primitive species with crude nuclear weapons and basic spaceflight capability. Vasquez was already running calculations on her tablet. The quantum tunneling technology could create instant strike capability anywhere in their fleet formation. But Admiral, we'd need precise targeting data. Already acquired, Chen activated another display. The moment they started their broadcast, we began deep space quantum scanning. We know the exact position, velocity, and structural composition of every ship in their fleet. How many vessels are we talking about? Dr. Kim asked. 12 dreadnoughts, 36 cruisers, over 200 support vessels, Chen replied matter-of-factly. Approximately 4 million alien personnel. The hangar fell silent except for the humming of advanced technology. Dr. Kim was the first to speak. Admiral, they slaughtered 99 million innocent people. But if we do this here, we become them? Chen's voice was ice cold. Doctor, they made this choice for us. They broadcast the murder of civilians across our entire planet as a demonstration of power. They gave us an ultimatum to surrender or face extinction. Vasquez looked up from her calculations. There's another consideration. If we use quantum tunneling to deploy antimatter weapons directly inside their ships, there won't be any survivors to send a message back to their empire. Exactly. Chen nodded. The Dominion command structure will simply lose contact with this fleet. They'll send another larger fleet to investigate. We need to be ready for that too. You're talking about starting an interstellar war, Nakamura protested. They started it. Chen's voice carried the weight of 99 million dead souls. We're finishing it. Dr. Kim studied the alien aircraft in the hangar. These fighters, how do they compare to their current technology? Unknown, Chen admitted. The crashed ships we recovered were older models. But our engineers have made significant improvements. Better armor, more powerful weapons, enhanced maneuverability. These birds are hybrids. Alien technology with human aggression built into every system. Vasquez was already deep in her calculations, her fingers flying across holographic interfaces. If we can quantum tunnel these fighters directly into their fleet formation, bypass their shields entirely, like materializing inside a locked room, Chen confirmed. Their shields protect against external threats. They won't stop something that appears inside the protected zone. How many pilots do we have trained for this technology? Dr. Kim asked. Chen's smile was predatory. Every military pilot on Earth has been secretly training on these systems for the past 5 years. We've been using advanced simulation technology to prepare them for exactly this scenario. The volunteers alone, Nakamura started. There are no volunteers, Chen interrupted. Every pilot has requested immediate assignment to combat operations. We have more volunteers than aircraft. Vasquez looked up from her work. Admiral, I can have the targeting systems online in 18 hours, but the quantum tunneling process is dangerous. We're talking about instantaneous travel through folded space. There's a 20% chance that the fighters won't survive the translation. What about the antimatter deployment? 97% success rate for direct materialization inside enemy vessels. The quantum uncertainty principle actually works in our favor here. Their shields won't even detect the weapons until they've already materialized inside the hull. Chen walked to the center of the hangar, his voice carrying to every person present. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're planning has never been attempted in the history of warfare. We're going to quantum tunnel an entire strike force directly into the middle of an alien fleet, deploy antimatter weapons inside their most heavily shielded vessels, and eliminate an enemy that considers us primitive insects. And if it doesn't work, Dr. Kim asked quietly. Then Earth dies, Chen replied simply. But at least we'll die fighting. At least those 99 million souls won't have died for nothing. Vasquez saved her calculations and looked up with determination burning in her eyes. Admiral, I need access to every quantum physicist on the planet. We're going to need to rewrite the laws of physics to pull this off. Already arranged. They're en route. And the pilots? Assembling at bases worldwide as we speak. The best of the best, all sworn to secrecy. All ready to die for their species. Nakamura stared at the quantum device, understanding finally dawning. This isn't just about survival, is it? You're planning to send a message to their entire empire. Chen's eyes glittered with cold fury. When the Dominion loses contact with this fleet, they'll investigate. They'll find empty space where their ships used to be. No wreckage, no survivors, no explanation, just nothing. Terror, Vasquez whispered. Exactly. They wanted to terrorize us into submission. Instead, we're going to show them what real terror looks like. We're going to make them afraid of humans. Captain Maria Santos strapped herself into the pilot seat of the prototype fighter designated Wraith 1, her hands trembling slightly as she initiated the pre-flight sequence. Around her, the cockpit hummed with technology that seemed almost alive, responding to her thoughts as much as her physical commands. Control. This is Wraith 1. Systems check complete, she spoke into her helmet microphone. Through the quantum glass canopy, she could see 47 other pilots doing the same in the underground hangar that stretched beneath the Mojave Desert. Copy Wraith 1. Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the comm system. All pilots, final mission briefing in 60 seconds. Santos closed her eyes and thought about her daughter Carmen, killed aboard the New Horizon along with Santos's ex-husband and his new family. They had been traveling to establish a new life on Kepler 442b, full of hope and dreams. Now they were cosmic dust, murdered for the entertainment of alien overlords. Wraith Squadron, listen carefully. Chen's voice filled every cockpit simultaneously. In 45 minutes, Supreme Commander Vexthul will make contact again, expecting our surrender. Instead, he's going to get the fight of his life. The holographic display in Santos's cockpit showed the alien fleet's formation. 12 massive dreadnoughts arranged in a defensive sphere, surrounded by cruisers and support vessels. The formation hung in space just beyond Earth's moon, close enough to make their threat real, far enough to feel secure. Phase 1, Chen continued. Quantum tunneling direct insertion into their fleet center. You'll materialize inside their defensive perimeter with approximately 15 seconds before they can react and reconfigure their shields. Santos studied her targeting data. Each pilot had been assigned specific targets based on their ship's strategic importance. She was tasked with the flagship where Vexthul commanded the fleet. Phase 2, antimatter torpedo deployment. Each Wraith carries 6 quantum torpedoes, each containing enough antimatter to destroy a city block. Target their reactor cores, command centers, and weapon systems. Fire everything, then get out. Lieutenant Rodriguez, flying Wraith 2, spoke up. Sir, escape probability once we're inside their formation? 17%, Chen answered honestly. This is likely a one-way mission for most of you. Silence filled the comm channels. Santos thought about Carmen's laugh, her excitement about seeing new worlds. 17% odds meant most of them would die, but 99 million people had already died and their murders demanded justice. Sir, Santos spoke up, request permission to modify mission parameters. Explain, Captain. If we're going to die anyway, let's make it count. Instead of trying to escape, we use the Wraith fighters themselves as additional weapons. Ram the command centers after torpedo deployment. Maximum damage. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Captain Santos, that would reduce escape probability to 0%. Yes, sir. But it would also guarantee mission success. One by one, other voices joined the channel. Wraith 2 requesting same modification. Wraith 3 concurs. Wraith 7 ready to ram. Within minutes. All 48 pilots had volunteered for a suicide mission. Understood. Chen's voice was thick with emotion. All Wraiths, you are authorized for ramming attack if necessary. Godspeed and thank you. Dr. Vasquez's voice cut in from the control center. All pilots, quantum tunnel initialization in 60 seconds. Remember, the translation process will be disorienting. Your neural interfaces will help stabilize you, but expect severe vertigo for the first few seconds after materialization. Santos activated her neural link, feeling the alien-derived technology merge with her consciousness. Suddenly, she could feel the ship around her like an extension of her own body. The Wraith's sensors became her eyes, its weapons her hands, its quantum drive her heartbeat. 30 seconds to tunnel activation, Vasquez announced. All pilots, final systems check. Santos ran through her checklist one last time. Antimatter torpedoes armed. Targeting systems locked. Neural interface stable. Quantum drive charging. 15 seconds. She thought about the transmission, about Vexthul's cold yellow eyes as he ordered the murder of her daughter, about his casual dismissal of human life as primitive and worthless. 10 seconds. Around her, the other Wraith fighters began to glow with quantum energy, their hulls becoming translucent as they prepared to fold space. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Translation. Reality twisted. Santos felt herself stretched across impossible distances. Her consciousness scattered across quantum foam for an eternal instant that lasted only nanoseconds. Then, with a violent snap, she was somewhere else entirely. The Wraith materialized inside the alien fleet formation, surrounded by massive ships that dwarfed her fighter. For a moment, Santos was paralyzed by the sheer scale of the enemy vessels. The nearest dreadnought was over 5 kilometers long, its hull bristling with weapons that could vaporize planets. Wraith Squadron, targets acquired. Rodriguez's voice crackled through quantum interference. Beginning attack run, Santos shook off her disorientation and focused on her target. Vexthal's flagship loomed ahead, its command tower gleaming with alien symbols. She could see movement through the transparent sections, aliens scrambling to battle stations, never expecting an enemy to appear inside their own formation. Wraith 1 engaging primary target, she announced, diving toward the flagship's command center. Her targeting system locked onto the reactor signature buried deep within the ship's core. Around her, the battle exploded into chaos. 48 human fighters materialized like ghosts among hundreds of alien vessels. Antimatter torpedoes streaked toward their targets, each one carrying enough destructive power to crack a moon. The first torpedo impacts were spectacular. Brilliant flashes of annihilation erupted throughout the fleet as antimatter met matter and converted to pure energy. Entire sections of alien ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized in microseconds. Direct hit on Dreadnought 3, someone reported. Reactor breach! She's breaking up. Cruiser formation Alpha is gone. Repeat, entire formation destroyed. Santos armed her first torpedo and fired at the flagship's reactor core. The quantum weapon phased through the ship's hull as if it didn't exist, materializing directly inside the target zone. The explosion that followed split the massive vessel in half, sending debris spinning through space. But Vexthal's command center was in a separate section, heavily armored and shielded. Santos could see the alien commander through the transparent bridge dome, his reptilian features twisted with rage and disbelief. Personal delivery, she whispered, arming her remaining torpedoes. Instead of firing them, she programmed them to detonate on impact and turned her fighter into a guided missile. The Wraith screamed toward the command center at full acceleration. Santos could see Vexthal's yellow eyes widen with understanding as her fighter approached. For just a moment, their gazes met across the vacuum of space. "This is for Carmen," Santos said, and triggered the detonation. The explosion consumed the flagship's command section in a ball of antimatter fire. When the light faded, nothing remained but expanding plasma. Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out as human pilots sacrificed themselves for maximum damage. Ships that had dominated star systems for millennia were torn apart by weapons they couldn't detect until it was too late. In the span of 3 minutes, the Galactic Dominion lost an entire fleet to a species they had dismissed as primitive insects. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as red icons representing alien ships winked out one by one. In the end, only scattered debris remained where the mighty fleet had been. "Sir," a technician reported, "we're detecting escape pods from some of the smaller vessels." "How many survivors?" "Approximately 2,000, sir." "Should we mount a rescue operation?" Chen considered for a moment, then shook his head. "No, let them drift. Let them think about what happened here. And when the Dominion finds them eventually, let them tell their superiors exactly what humanity is capable of." The counterattack was complete. 99 million human souls had been avenged by 48 pilots who gave their lives to prove that humans don't kneel, don't surrender, and never forget. 3 weeks after the destruction of the Dominion fleet, Emergency Session 2847 of the Galactic Council convened on the neutral station of Nexus Prime. Beings from across the galaxy gathered in the massive amphitheater, their various forms creating a bizarre tapestry of evolved life. Some humanoid, others utterly alien, all united by a growing sense of unease. High Counselor Zephyrian, an ethereal being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, called the session to order. The chamber fell silent as delegates representing thousands of species turned their attention to the central holographic display. We are here to discuss the incident involving the Galactic Dominion's Third Fleet. Saphirian's voice resonated through multiple dimensional frequencies. 3 weeks ago, Fleet Admiral Vexthul led 248 vessels to subjugate a primitive species on the galactic rim. Today we have recovered only 17 escape pods containing survivors. The hologram activated, showing the debris field where the Dominion fleet had been. Twisted metal scattered across millions of cubic kilometers, much of it fused into impossible shapes by energies that defied analysis. Counselor Thekvar, a massive insectoid creature with compound eyes, clicked his mandibles nervously. The debris patterns are unprecedented. Our forensic teams cannot determine what weapons were used. The molecular signatures suggest matter-antimatter annihilation, but on a scale that should be impossible for any known technology. Impossible, scoffed General Krex of the Dominion Military Command, his reptilian features marked with ritual scars. Vexthul commanded the most advanced fleet in Dominion history. These humans are barely spacefaring. They possess crude nuclear weapons and primitive propulsion systems. Then explain this. Dr. Yilesen of the Quantum Research Collective activated another display. These are the final transmissions from the flagship before communication ceased. The recording showed chaos aboard Vexthul's command center. Alarms blared as alien voices reported impossible readings. Then through the bridge's observation dome, small craft began materializing inside the fleet formation, not approaching from outside, but simply appearing as if folding space itself. Quantum tunneling, whispered Dr. Yilesen. They somehow transported strike craft directly past our shields, our sensors, our early warning systems. The technology required for such precision is beyond anything in our databases. The recording continued as the human fighters unleashed their weapons. The Council watched in stunned silence as antimatter torpedoes phased through hull plating to detonate inside ship cores, bypassing every defensive system. The energy signatures, Counselor Thekvar observed, suggest containment technology superior to our own. Their antimatter weapons achieved 97% efficiency ratings. Our best systems manage 71%. General Krex slammed his clawed hand on his podium. Impossible. Our intelligence indicates the humans have barely achieved fusion power. They cannot possibly possess antimatter production capabilities. Your intelligence, the High Counselor Zephyrian's tone carried subtle rebuke, appears to have been catastrophically incorrect. The recording shifted to show Vexthul's final moments as a human fighter approached the command center. Through the pilot's canopy, they could see a female human, her face set with determination and what could only be described as controlled fury. Enhancement Sector 7, Dr. Yilesen commanded. The image zoomed in on the human pilot's eyes. Observe the neural interface connections visible at her temples. She's directly linked to her ship's systems through quantum biological interfaces. The integration level suggests decades of development. That level of pilot integration is theoretically possible, admitted Counselor Veltar, a crystalline being whose species specialized in biotechnology, but the medical precision required. They would need to understand neural quantum mechanics at the cellular level. Which brings us to the primary concern, High Counselor Zephyrian continued. If these humans possess such advanced technology, why did they allow us to believe they were primitive? The chamber erupted in discussion as delegates realized the implications. If humanity had been hiding their true capabilities, what else were they concealing? Counselor Brixka, an aquatic species representative speaking through a water-filled communication sphere, bubbled urgently. Our latest intelligence reports indicate the humans have been launching what appear to be mining operations throughout their stellar neighborhood for the past 60 years. Asteroid mining, gas giant harvesting, deep space construction projects. Mining operations, General Krex snorted. Even if they were stockpiling resources, they lack the infrastructure for meaningful military production. Dr. Yilesen activated another display showing the Sol system. Analysis of their supposed mining operations reveals some interesting details. Energy signatures consistent with antimatter production facilities, quantum distortion fields suggesting advanced manufacturing, and their so-called communication satellites. The display zoomed in on objects orbiting Earth. What appeared to be simple satellites revealed themselves under deep analysis to be heavily armed weapons, platforms. They've militarized their entire star system. Thekvar's compound eyes focused on the data with growing alarm. Those aren't communication satellites. Their orbital defense platforms armed with weapons we can't even identify. The asteroid belt mining operations, Dr. Yillison continued, show quantum signatures consistent with ship construction facilities. If our analysis is correct, they've been building a hidden fleet for decades. Silence fell over the council as the true scope of human deception became clear. They had observed a species playing primitive while secretly preparing for interstellar warfare. There's more, Councillor Veltar announced reluctantly. We've detected quantum tunneling signatures throughout their local galactic region. They've been conducting reconnaissance missions possibly for years. They know about us, our capabilities, our territories. How many reconnaissance missions? General Krex demanded. Unknown. The quantum signatures are extremely subtle. They could have been observing us since first contact protocols were established. High Counselor Zephyrian processed this information through multiple consciousness layers. Are you suggesting that humanity has been preparing for war with the galactic community for decades? No, Dr. Yillison's voice carried disturbing certainty. I'm suggesting they've been preparing to win. The implications hit the Council like a shockwave. Humanity wasn't just hiding advanced technology. They had been studying galactic civilization, learning their weaknesses, preparing countermeasures. The Dominion made first contact 3 months ago, Tekvar realized. Their response time suggests they were already prepared for this exact scenario. More than prepared, Veltar added. The precision of their attack, the effectiveness of their weapons, the tactical coordination. This wasn't a desperate defense. This was a carefully planned military operation executed with devastating efficiency. General Krex stood abruptly. I request immediate authorization for a preemptive strike. If these humans are preparing for war, we must act before they complete their preparations. With what forces? High Counselor Zephyrian asked quietly. They just destroyed our most advanced fleet without losing a single ship to enemy fire. Their pilots deliberately crashed their fighters into our vessels rather than attempt escape. What does that tell you about their psychological profile? They're insane, Krex snarled. No. Counselor Brixka's voice bubbled through her water sphere. They're committed. There's a difference. They're willing to die to protect their species. More importantly, they're willing to kill any number of us to achieve that protection. Dr. Yillison brought up the final piece of evidence. This is perhaps most disturbing. Analysis of the human pilot communications during the attack reveals they were conducting the mission as revenge for the destruction of their colony ship. They weren't fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for justice, High Counselor Zephyrian completed the thought. They destroyed an entire fleet to avenge their dead. The council chamber fell into profound silence as the reality settled over them. Humanity wasn't just technologically advanced and militarily prepared, they were motivated by something far more dangerous than conquest or expansion. They were motivated by love for their own species and uncompromising determination to protect it. In the galactic community's long history, they had never encountered anything quite so terrifying as a species willing to die for each other. Ambassador Elizabeth Harper stepped out of the quantum transport and onto the crystalline surface of Nexus Prime. Her black diplomatic uniform, a stark contrast to the rainbow-hued architecture of the galactic community's most important station. Behind her, a small security detail of humans in powered armor followed with quiet precision, their weapons conspicuously visible. The welcoming committee that greeted them was notably nervous. Counselor Zephyrian's crystalline form flickered with anxious energy patterns, while the various alien dignitaries maintained careful distances from the human delegation. Ambassador Harper, Zephyrian's multi-dimensional voice carried forced politeness. Welcome to Nexus Prime. The Galactic Council is honored to meet with humanity's representative. Harper smiled coldly. Thank you, High Counselor. Though I suspect this meeting is long overdue. She gestured to her security team. I trust you don't object to my escort? Given recent events, I'm sure you understand our security concerns. Of course, Zephyrian replied, though his energy patterns betrayed his unease. The human soldier's armor incorporated technology that shouldn't exist according to their intelligence files, and their weapons registered energy signatures that made his quantum sensors recoil. As the delegation moved through the station's corridors, Harper observed the reactions of various species they encountered. Fear was universal. Beings that had dominated star systems for millennia stepped aside to let the humans pass, their various forms of communication buzzing with nervous energy. Quite a reputation we've developed, Harper commented to her security chief, Colonel James Morrison. Well-deserved, ma'am, Morrison replied. Word travels fast when you completely erase a fleet without taking casualties. They entered the council chamber where representatives from hundreds of species waited in tense silence. Harper took her place at the podium that had been hastily constructed for humanity's first official appearance before the galactic community. Honored delegates, Harper began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. I come before you today not as a petitioner seeking membership in your community, but as a representative of a species that has been grievously wronged. General Krex of the Dominion leaned forward aggressively. You speak of being wronged? Your forces committed an act of unprovoked aggression against a peaceful fleet. Harper's laugh was like ice-breaking. Peaceful? General, your Supreme Commander broadcast the cold-blooded murder of 99 million civilians directly to our planet. He called it an educational display. If that's your definition of peaceful, I fear for the galaxy's future. Those colonists were legitimate military targets, Krex protested. Your species' expansion into unclaimed space constituted an act of territorial aggression. Unclaimed space? Harper activated a holographic display showing detailed star charts. According to our records, the Kepler 442 system has never been claimed by any galactic power. Furthermore, our colony ship was unarmed and transmitted its peaceful intentions continuously. Dr. Yilisen of the Quantum Research Collective studied the displayed data with growing alarm. Ambassador, the detail level of these star charts. They show quantum resonance patterns, gravitational anomalies, even subspace current mappings. This level of astronomical knowledge would require centuries of deep space exploration. Indeed, Harper agreed pleasantly. We've been rather busy over the past few decades. Impossible, General Krex snarled. Our intelligence clearly shows your species achieved interstellar flight only recently. Your technology is primitive at best. Harper's smile turned predatory. General, your intelligence is catastrophically flawed. Allow me to provide some corrections to your databases. The holographic display shifted to show the solar system, but not as the galactic community had believed it to exist. Hidden installations throughout the asteroid belt revealed themselves. Massive shipyards and antimatter production facilities that had been operating for decades under quantum camouflage. Our first successful antimatter production facility came online in 1987, Harper explained casually. By 2010, we were manufacturing it in industrial quantities. By 2020, we had enough stockpiled to power a small star. The council chamber erupted in startled communications as delegates realized the implications. Councillor Thekvar's mandibles clicked frantically. You've been deceiving us for decades. Deceiving? Harper raised an eyebrow. We never claimed to be primitive. We simply allowed you to maintain your assumptions. Your species made first contact with us, observed our public technology, and concluded we were helpless. You never bothered to look deeper. The mining operations, Dr. Yilisen whispered. They weren't mining operations at all. Oh, they were mining operations, Harper corrected. Just not exclusively. We've been strip mining asteroids for raw materials while simultaneously building the largest military production infrastructure in this galactic region. Every communication satellite you detected is actually a weapons platform capable of sterilizing a planet. High Counselor Zephyrian's energy patterns shifted to deep concern. Ambassador, are you threatening the galactic community? Not at all, Harper replied smoothly. I'm simply providing context for our response to the Dominion's aggression. You see, when Supreme Commander Vexthul murdered our civilians and demanded our surrender, he made a critical error in judgment. Which was? General Krex demanded. He assumed we were defenseless prey. In reality, he attacked a predator that had been watching, learning, and preparing for exactly this scenario. Harper activated another display showing the Wraith Fighter attack. Our pilots didn't just destroy your fleet, General. They did so while suffering 0 casualties from enemy fire. Every human death was voluntary, pilots choosing to use their fighters as additional weapons to maximize damage. The footage showed Captain Santos ramming her fighter into Vexthul's command center, antimatter torpedoes detonating in a ball of annihilation that consumed the flagship's bridge. Your Supreme Commander's final moments were spent watching a human mother avenge her murdered daughter. Harper continued remorselessly. I thought you should know that before we proceed with negotiations. Counselor Veltar's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy. Ambassador, what exactly are you negotiating? Reparations, Harper stated flatly. The Galactic Dominion murdered 99 million human civilians in an act of terrorism designed to force our surrender. We demand appropriate compensation. Reparations? General Krex laughed harshly. You destroyed an entire fleet. If anything, you owe us compensation. Harper's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the chamber seemed to drop several degrees. General, I think you misunderstand our position. We're not requesting reparations. We're demanding them. The only question is whether you pay them voluntarily or we collect them ourselves. Is that a threat? Krex stood aggressively. It's a fact, Harper replied calmly. You see, our analysis of your military capabilities is quite thorough. We've been conducting reconnaissance operations throughout Dominion space for the past 5 years. We know the location of every military installation, every shipyard, every command center. The holographic display shifted again, showing detailed schematics of Dominion military infrastructure. Base layouts, defensive configurations, fleet dispositions, information that should have been absolutely classified. How did you obtain this intelligence? Dr. Yelison demanded. Quantum reconnaissance drones, Harper explained. Smaller than your atoms, capable of scanning any installation without detection. We've mapped your entire military infrastructure down to the location of individual weapons lockers. High Counselor Zephyrian processed this revelation with growing horror. You've been preparing for war against the entire galactic community. Not war, Harper corrected. Justice. We have no interest in conquest or expansion. We simply want our dead avenged and assurance that no one will ever again make the mistake of targeting human civilians. And if we refuse your demands? General Krex asked. Harper's smile was terrible to behold. Then you'll discover what happens when humans stop pretending to be civilized. The 48 pilots who destroyed your fleet were volunteers motivated by grief and anger. What do you think will happen when we deploy our full military capability, motivated by righteous fury? The council chamber fell into absolute silence as the implications settled over them. Humanity hadn't just hidden their technological advancement. They had been preparing for total war while maintaining the facade of primitive innocence. What are your demands? High Counselor Zephyrian asked quietly. Simple, Harper replied. Full disclosure of all galactic military capabilities, technology sharing agreements to ensure balance of power, and establishment of a human monitoring station in every major star system to prevent future atrocities. You're demanding surveillance rights over the entire galaxy? Counselor Thekvar protested. We're demanding accountability, Harper shot back. Your community allowed the Dominion to broadcast genocide as entertainment. Never again. As the human delegation prepared to present their detailed demands, one thing became crystal clear to every delegate present. Humanity had evolved beyond being merely another species seeking membership in the galactic community. They had become its judge, jury, and potential executioner. 6 months after humanity's ultimatum to the Galactic Council, the first human monitoring station materialized in the Centauri hegemony's capital system without warning. The massive structure, larger than most space stations, simply appeared in high orbit above the planet Zephyr Prime, its quantum camouflage dropping to reveal architecture that defied conventional understanding. Governor Prime Nexus High watched from his office tower as the alien structure settled into a stable orbit, its hull gleaming with energy patterns that made his photosensitive skin crawl. Around him, his advisors chattered in panicked harmonics, their crystalline voices creating a discordant symphony of fear. How did it get past our orbital defenses? Senior Defense Coordinator Klixner demanded, his usually calm demeanor shattered by the implications. Our quantum sensors showed nothing until it was already in position. Because they wanted us to see nothing, Nexus High replied grimly, studying the intelligence briefings that had been flooding in since humanity's appearance at the Galactic Council. The humans have been watching us for years without our knowledge. This is just them making their presence official. The monitoring station was a masterpiece of intimidation. Its hull incorporated quantum-shifted metals that seemed to absorb light, while simultaneously radiating an aura of barely contained power. Weapon ports were clearly visible, though their exact capabilities remained unknown. Most unsettling were the sensor arrays that covered the station's surface like eyes, each one capable of monitoring subatomic activity anywhere in the star system. Governor Prime, Communications Director Velara's voice trembled with barely controlled terror. We're receiving a transmission from the station. They're requesting an immediate meeting with our highest-ranking officials. Requesting? Nexus High almost laughed at the diplomatic language. I suspect that's a polite way of saying comply or else. The main view screen activated, revealing the face of the human monitoring station's commander. Commander Sarah Chen appeared younger than most galactic leaders, but her eyes held an intensity that made seasoned warriors uncomfortable. Behind her, the station's command center hummed with activity as human personnel operated technology that seemed almost alive. Governor Prime Nexus High. Chen's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. I'm Commander Chen, representing humanity's interests in your star system. I'm sure you have questions. Commander Chen, Nexus High replied carefully. While we welcome dialogue with humanity, the sudden appearance of an armed station in our sovereign space is rather concerning. Chen's smile was pleasant and utterly terrifying. Governor Prime, your sovereignty exists because we allow it to exist. Let me be clear about our arrangement. This monitoring station is here to ensure that the atrocities committed by the Galactic Dominion are never repeated. We will observe, we will record, and if necessary, we will intervene. Intervene. Senior Defense Coordinator Klixnar leaned forward aggressively. Commander, the Centauri hegemony has never engaged in hostile action against civilian populations. Your presence here is unnecessary, is it? Chen activated a holographic display showing detailed records of hegemony military operations over the past century. Our analysis shows 17 incidents where your forces targeted civilian infrastructure during the Rigel conflicts. 3 cases where non-combatant ships were destroyed without warning, and one particularly disturbing case where your military command ordered the bombardment of refugee settlements. The command center fell silent. Those records were classified at the highest levels, accessible only to the hegemony's inner circle. The fact that humans possessed such detailed intelligence sent chills through every present official. Those operations were conducted under wartime emergency protocols, Nexus High protested weakly. The Rigel separatists were using civilian shields to protect military assets. Irrelevant, Chen replied coldly. Targeting civilians is a war crime under the Galactic Conventions your government signed. Such actions will not be tolerated under human oversight. Human oversight? Klixnar's crystalline form blazed with indignation. You have no authority over our internal affairs. Chen's expression didn't change, but the monitoring station's weapon systems came online with a low hum that could be felt throughout the command center. Coordinator Klixnar, our authority derives from our capability to enforce our will. Would you like a demonstration? Commander. Nexus High intervened quickly, recognizing the threat for what it was. Perhaps we could discuss the specific parameters of your monitoring mission? Certainly, Chen replied, the weapons powering down. Our mandate is simple. Ensure compliance with galactic civilization standards. No targeting of civilian populations, no genocide or ethnic cleansing, no use of prohibited weapons against inhabited worlds, no acts of terrorism or intimidation against peaceful species. And if violations occur? Philara asked nervously. Then we correct them, Chen answered matter-of-factly. Our response will be proportional to the violation. Minor infractions might result in targeted interventions. Major atrocities. She paused meaningfully. Well, you've seen what happened to the Dominion fleet. On the planet's surface, civilian populations gathered to stare up at the alien structure that had appeared in their skies. News broadcasts struggled to explain the situation, as governments throughout the hegemony grappled with the reality of human oversight. Dr. Zarin Al, the hegemony's leading xenopsychologist, studied the monitoring station through his laboratory's telescopes. The psychological impact is devastating, he reported to the Governor Prime's Emergency Council. The station's presence creates a constant reminder that we're being watched, judged, potentially punished. It's a masterpiece of psychological warfare. But what are their true capabilities? General Thexran demanded. One monitoring station cannot possibly threaten our entire star system. Dr. Zarinal pulled up energy readings from the station. General, the quantum signatures we're detecting suggest antimatter stores sufficient to sterilize this entire system. Their reactor output exceeds our largest installations by orders of magnitude, and those weapon ports, he shuddered. We have no idea what they're capable of. Back on the monitoring station, Commander Chen reviewed the psychological profiles her team had compiled on the hegemony's leadership. How are they adapting to our presence? She asked Lieutenant Commander Park, her intelligence officer. Better than expected, Park replied. Governor Prime Nexus High is pragmatic. He understands the new reality and is working to adjust his government's policies accordingly. Defense Coordinator Klixnar is more problematic. He represents the old guard that still thinks in terms of traditional power dynamics. And the population? Mixed reactions. Fear is universal, but there's also curiosity. Some species see us as liberators from the traditional power structures. Others view us as occupiers. The crystalline species particularly resent our presence. Their culture values independence above all else. Chen nodded, studying the reports. Any immediate threats we need to address? The Rigel separatist situation is escalating, Park reported. Intelligence suggests the hegemony military is preparing a massive offensive that could result in significant civilian casualties. If they proceed with their current plans, we'll need to intervene, Chen finished. Have our diplomatic team arrange a meeting with both sides. Make it clear that any operations resulting in civilian casualties will be met with immediate human response. And if they refuse to negotiate, Chen's expression grew cold. Then we demonstrate why the Galactic Dominion no longer exists. The galaxy needs to understand that the age of casual brutality is over. Humanity is watching, and we will not tolerate the murder of innocents. Throughout the Centauri hegemony's territory, similar conversations were taking place as governments struggled to adapt to a new reality. The humans had not conquered them in any traditional sense. There were no occupation forces, no demands for tribute or resources. Instead, humanity had installed themselves as the galaxy's conscience, a constant presence ensuring that the strong could no longer prey upon the weak with impunity. For species accustomed to millennia of traditional power politics, the adjustment was traumatic. But as reports filtered in from other systems where monitoring stations had appeared, one fact became undeniably clear. Humanity was not seeking dominion over the galaxy. They were seeking justice. And they possessed the power to enforce it whether the galaxy wanted it or not. The age of human oversight had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years after the establishment of the Human Monitoring Network, the galaxy had transformed into something unrecognizable to those who remembered the old ways. On the neutral world of Haven's Rest, formerly a lawless frontier planet where the strong preyed upon the weak, children of dozens of species played together in parks that had once been battlefields. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now wearing the insignia of the Human Galactic Oversight Division, walked through the bustling marketplace with her mixed-species security team. The transformation of Haven's Rest served as a perfect example of humanity's approach to galactic governance, not through conquest, but through the relentless enforcement of basic civilized behavior. Hard to believe this place used to be a slave-trading hub, commented Lieutenant Kexthor, her Dominion-born partner who had defected after witnessing human intervention in his home system. His reptilian features, once marking him as part of an oppressor species, now carried the respect earned through years of service protecting the innocent. The market alone processed over 1 million sentient beings annually, Rodriguez replied, watching as former slave species now operated their own businesses alongside their former captors. Now look at it. Genuine free trade, protected rights, actual justice. They paused at a memorial wall where holographic images showed the faces of the 99 million humans killed aboard the New Horizon. Fresh flowers and offerings from dozens of species created a colorful tribute to the martyrs whose deaths had sparked the galactic transformation. Commander Rodriguez, a small voice called out. A young Zephyrian child, her crystalline form barely reaching Rodriguez's waist, approached with a hand-drawn picture. I made this for you. The drawing showed crude but recognizable human figures standing protectively around smaller figures representing various alien species. At the top, written in careful human script, were the words, "Thank you for keeping us safe." Rodriguez knelt down to the child's level. This is beautiful, Kira. What made you want to draw this? Mama says before the humans came, bad people hurt children like me, the young Zephyrian explained with the matter-of-fact honesty of childhood. She says you make sure the bad people can't hurt us anymore. That's right, Rodriguez smiled gently. And we always will. As they continued their patrol, Rodriguez reflected on how the galaxy had adapted to human oversight. The initial resistance had been fierce. 3 separate coalition wars, dozens of terrorist attacks, and countless attempts at subversion. But humanity's response had been swift, decisive, and proportional. They didn't seek to rule. They simply made it impossible for others to rule through brutality. Her communicator chimed with an urgent message from Admiral Chen, now commanding the human Galactic Defense Force from Earth. Elena, we have a situation developing in the Outer Rim. The Vorthon Empire is massing forces near the Kepler colonies. Rodriguez activated her private channel. The same colonies that were supposed to be protected under the Kepler Accords? Exactly. Intelligence suggests they're planning to seize the agricultural worlds to address their food shortage crisis. Estimated civilian population at risk, 47 million. Understood. What's our response authorization? Full intervention authority. Elena, make it clear that this is exactly the kind of behavior that ended the Dominion. The galaxy needs a reminder of why human oversight exists. Rodriguez turned to her team. Change of plans. We're heading to the Outer Rim. The Vorthons apparently need a history lesson. 3 hours later, the human response fleet materialized around the Vorthon staging area in a display of quantum tunneling technology that had become humanity's signature. 50 ships appeared simultaneously, their arrival calculated to maximize psychological impact while minimizing actual violence. Admiral Thexron of the Vorthon Empire watched from his flagship as the human vessels took positions throughout his fleet formation. Unlike the old days when such an appearance would trigger immediate combat, his crews remained at their stations, waiting for orders that everyone knew would not come. Admiral, his communications officer reported with barely concealed fear, the human flagship is requesting immediate communication. Put them through, Thexron replied, his forearms adjusting his command harness nervously. Captain Rodriguez appeared on the main screen, her expression calm but implacable. Admiral Thexron, I'm Captain Rodriguez of the Human Oversight Division. I believe you know why we're here. Captain, Thexron attempted diplomatic language. The Vorthon Empire is conducting routine fleet exercises in neutral space. We have every right to— Admiral, Rodriguez interrupted. You have 847 troop transports, 200 ground assault vehicles, and enough orbital bombardment capability to sterilize a continent. This is not a fleet exercise. This is preparation for the conquest of peaceful agricultural colonies. Thexron's diplomatic facade cracked. Captain, my people are starving. These colonies have food surpluses while Vorthon children die of malnutrition. We have the right to survive. You have the right to ask for help, Rodriguez corrected. You have the right to negotiate trade agreements. You have the right to request humanitarian aid. You do not have the right to take what you want by force. And if we refuse to withdraw? Rodriguez's expression didn't change, but the quantum signatures around the human fleet shifted ominously. Admiral, we destroyed the Galactic Dominion's entire fleet to avenge 99 million dead civilians. How do you think we'll respond to an attempt to murder 47 million more? The threat hung in space between them like a physical presence. Thexron looked around his bridge at officers who had served with distinction for decades, now reduced to helpless observers of their own impotence. Captain, he said finally, my people truly are dying. What alternative do you offer? Rodriguez's expression softened slightly. Admiral, stand down your invasion fleet and return to Vorthon space. Within 48 hours, human agricultural ships will arrive with enough food supplies to feed your population for 6 months. During that time, we'll work with the Kepler colonies to establish permanent trade relationships that benefit everyone. And the cost for this aid? Your commitment to resolve future problems through negotiation rather than conquest. Nothing more. Thexron stared at her in disbelief. You would feed our people and ask for nothing in return? Admiral, this is what civilized species do. They help each other survive and thrive. The old galaxy operated on the principle that might makes right. The new galaxy operates on the principle that cooperation makes everyone stronger. As the Vorthon fleet began its withdrawal, Thexron found himself asking a question that had haunted many military leaders over the past 5 years. Captain, how do you do it? How do you maintain fleets across the entire galaxy? How do you respond to every crisis, prevent every atrocity? Rodriguez smiled for the first time during their conversation. Admiral, we don't have to be everywhere. We just have to make everyone believe we might be anywhere. The galaxy polices itself now, because everyone knows that if they cross the line, humans will appear to correct them. Back on Haven's Rest, The young Zephyrian child added another figure to her drawing, a human in a captain's uniform standing between angry-looking aliens and frightened families. At the bottom, she carefully wrote new words she had learned: justice for everyone. Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes played out daily. The strong learned to protect the weak instead of exploiting them. The wealthy discovered that sharing resources prevented wars better than hoarding them. Ancient enemies found common ground under the watchful eyes of human monitors, who enforced cooperation through the simple expedient of making aggression too costly to contemplate. The galaxy had not become human. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy to become humane. And in the memorial gardens on Earth, where holographic images of the 99 million martyrs stood eternal watch, their sacrifice had found its true meaning. They had died so that no one else would have to. The age of casual cruelty was over. The age of enforced compassion had begun, and humanity stood ready to defend that new age against any force that threatened to return the galaxy to its dark past. Some called it occupation. Others called it liberation. History would call it the moment the universe learned to be better than it was.